No one plays guitar like Willie Nelson. He's bluesy, country, and just a little bit jazzy. My hope with this video today is that by the end of it, I've outlined things in such a way that you're like, okay, I kind of get it. Hey, I'm Eric Haugen. Check the description box below for tabs and backing tracks on my website, information about exactly what sound tools I'm using today, live streams and more on Patreon, and my deep dive courses, including my newest one, which is available for pre-order, I think, at the end of this month. It's all on my website. You can find it there.
Crazy for feeling so blue.
There's a few chords to add to your repertoire for working on Willie's stuff. That's because sometimes when he wrote a song with a weird chord in it, when it comes time to solo over it, he just plays an arpeggio of that chord. So the first one that we're going to look at is the minor 6. Here's an A minor. Here's an A minor 6. This comes from Willie's love of Django Reinhardt. That's a very gypsy jazz chord. That's going to show up in Funny How Time Slips Away, which we're going to talk about a little bit later in the video. Let's also check out the diminished 7th chord. Here's a C. Here's a C sharp, diminished 7. And that's how he's going to use it in Crazy, C. And this is the way diminished get used a lot. As like a walk up. There's our C sharp diminished. Our D minor, our E flat diminished, and in Crazy he just goes back to the C. Adding these new forms to your bag will definitely help, well, not just with Willie stuff, but just in general. They're cool. It doesn't have to be exact, but it's a good idea to find the general shape of the melody to use as your jumping off point for a solo. Sings Chris Christopherson. A lot of really good nylon string guitar work on that record. So yeah, I know this isn't a Willie song, but the way he deals with it is very Willie. So A, he's looking for that, but it's kind of fun. We're going to see this more and more. Willie will throw blues at a lot of things, but you can kind of hear the general shape of the vocal melody in there. There's the first phrase for that A chord. Second phrase. He loves that little move, that little blues pull-off. And then the third phrase is pretty similar, but hold on, let's see. Then he got to the E chord. Let's look at that again. That's another Willie thing. He'll just like, if he doesn't know what to do, he'll be like, that's fine. I'm just going to just hammer that note. And then it kind of does, you can hear the melody on this E7 here, which, yeah, if you think about it, E. That's kind of like a blues thing. Again, yeah, see that? He found the melody in there. Let's look at that phrase there. And then almost done with this next 4 bars. So just very simply looking for that kind of A major, but also being pretty loose about it. Then when the band comes in, still just copping the melody. Okay, and then here we go. A little flourish there. A little, I like to call those fiddly-doos. Here's the D chord. Again, again, he didn't know what to do, so he's okay with just, I don't know, I'll just bash away doing that. He might do octaves there. I like to do open drones. Same difference, really. Same difference. And then there's Django Reinhardt. So on the D, I would have never thought to do that little chromatic thing to get to that E note that's on the A chord. Let's look at that again from the D. I love that. That's super cool. And then, yeah, so he was on an A here. He's on an E here. Yeah, and he'll bend strings on a nylon. And hammer octaves. Now let's talk specifically about some of those licks. You know, this is something that all cool guitar players do. What makes it sound like Willie is the fact that he does it on a nylon string, the kind of crossover stuff. So here's a G. Here's G blues. And G mixolydian, the funky major. And that does give you some cool kind of in-between. This is, blues players do this too. And of course, yeah, Willie loves blues. But yeah, the fact that it's on a nylon string, it gives you a lot of interesting tones that you could throw at any major chord. And this is definitely something that Willie will do on the 1 chord, the 4 chord, or the 5 chord. There's 10,000 versions of Whiskey River. Again, I'm pulling from the Willie and Family live version. This is about 2.5 minutes in. This is what he did on the chorus. So it's coming in there on the C chord, and he's just doing his stuttery kind of drone stuff. That's all he does on the C chord. Yeah, very, honestly, kind of like reminds me of Neil Young. Just kind of picking a rhythm and hammering at it. And there's that little pull-off thing that he likes to do at a G chord. So on the G, the first beat is way up here. That's 12. That's all he does. Variations of that. And yeah, Willie will use his pinky for that. And then on the D, though, is the cool little kind of mixolydian thing. Let's look at that. So here's a D chord. There it is. There's mixolydian. And then, still on the D, kind of playing off of that, again, that G mixolydian kind of blues thing. Back to more of these. Really cool stuff.
Well, it's been so long now, but it seems now.
Now there's other Willie articulations to talk about. The best way I could think to do it would be to do my version of Funny How Time Slips Away, trying to do some of that stuff. first thing is off of a D chord. And already then I put in one of these. That thing, I don't know what to call that. Let's just call it like, it's a chromatic walk back from the 5th down to the 3rd. You don't have to tag the root again, but yeah, it's a Willie thing. Let's look at that phrase again. And then when it goes to the G, I just hit the D tone of a G chord. And then I did some, like, you know, Willie octaves. Because that's kind of the melody. We're on a G chord, that's a B. So Willie will sometimes, he'll either hit them together or he'll hit them separate. Kind of definitely one of the Willie articulations. And then there's going to be a big arpeggio, just a kind of simple, clean one on the A7. Django Reinhardt. That's so Django Reinhardt. And then the melody comes around again. And that time you could see I did a little slide into that F sharp on that D chord. Just follow that chromatic walk down. There's not a whole chord there, by the way. I'm pretty sure it's just that tone by itself. And then here comes one of his arpeggios. This is a Willie thing. Cool, right? There's the chord, Forevermore. It's not the easiest stretch on a G. Usually he'll do it a little higher, but yeah. And then, yeah, that was on the D chord. And here comes some stuff to the A chord. Those are 6s. Again, so a little blues kind of thing on this A chord. That's a cool lick. So there's the lick. It's like a Chuck Berry lick, really. Back around again. So here comes some minor 6 chords. So we have the D. There's that B flat minor 6 that we talked about earlier. There's an A minor 6. And then on this chromatic passing, it's funny, depending on which version of the song you track down, sometimes he just does that, but that version that I referenced earlier, he does an arpeggio for an A flat major. And then we're on a G, down to an E. That's cool. And then yeah, that's onto the A. Did I do a little? I think I did that. And then the little turnaround. Here's a G, D, and this is actually, shoot. That's an A9, and it'll be going all around again. Here's the 4 records I listened to put this video together. Willie obviously has, you know, a massive catalog, but I was hunting around for the records where you could really hear his guitar playing the most. So these are the ones I recommend checking out. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. That costs you nothing and helps me out a lot. One more time, how my business works. Patreon is where there's every backing track I've ever made, live Q&A seminars, and more. And I make deep dive courses. I have a new course, Guitar Zen Acoustic, coming out, I think, May 29th. As Bill and Ted would say, be excellent to each other. That includes yourself. Happy Friday. Eat pizza.
Nothing ain't worth nothing, but it's free. Feeling good was easy, Lord, when Bobby sang the blues. And brother, that was good enough for me.